try for their best to beat. Now then, I'm sorry, but I am nearly 72 years of age, but I'm going to put my hand up and say I do exactly the same thing, because when I came back from France on Thursday night, thank you.
Sorry.
The sat-nav said that I would get home at 10:40.
Yes.
So I was coming up the M2, and there was not a lot of traffic around, so I was doing the legal speed of 70, yes, and then I got onto the M25, which was remarkably clear as well. And I was ever so pleased to see that the sat-nav time that I was due to come home was dropping down to 10:38, and then 10:36, and then 10:33, and in fact it got down to 10:30 when I got home. So I was actually pleased. So, however, I wasn't really racing to do it, so which is what excuse me for all the noise that's going on in the background, listener, but unfortunately our chef this morning, who's making the tea, is crunching around with bags of biscuits and bags of muffin and Tossimo coffee bags, and goodness gracious me, it's just terrible. The noise is almost unbelievable.
On the subject of racing round, Mike, if I can quickly add,
please do.
And
yes.
I appreciate you youngsters racing around in your cars, but there was a story that I heard recently about two young guys from Milton Keynes, could well be at the establishment I work at, that both have got cars. They're both 17 years old, and one of them thought it'd be a really good idea to drive quite fast, and the other one thought, well, I can drive a little bit faster. So went right up behind him in the car, and then thought, it'd be nice just to give him a little nudge. Now, nothing untoward came of that, but that was just mindless behaviour in a car that is, let's face it, it is a killing machine in the hands of wrong people.
Of course it is. I mean, there's no two ways about that,
Yeah, we shouldn't allow people to drive till at least they're 25.
Well, I would go for that, but I think I was an advocate the other week here of 21, but if 25 is it, I'll go for it.
Whatever age you put on it, I don't think it's going to make an awful lot of difference, to be honest with you.
No, you're probably right there.
I mean, we've all been youngsters, we've all been driving. I mean, and I tell you what, I actually think nowadays, regrettably, a lot of the youngsters are doing things that are really rather silly, etc., in their cars. But cars nowadays are slightly different, because although they go faster, they can stop quicker. I mean, I remember my first car was a 1934 Wolseley, and if I wanted to stop at the traffic lights, which were 300 yards away, I had to sort of go down through the gears and put my foot on a brake and hold it there and everything else, you had to anticipate. But, I mean, you couldn't race away or anything like that, because it was 0 to 40 mile an hour in about a week, and that sort of thing. And let's just transpose life forward another 50 years, okay, and they'll be saying exactly the same thing, because people will be, there won't be, well, the cars will be driverless for a start, and we'll probably be zotting around the world in sort of mini little aeroplanes and things.
Do you think it will be?
Huh?
Do you think it will be driverless cars? Do you think they're going? Do you think so?
Oh, of course they will.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
We're
heading that way.
Yes.
Well, whether we're heading that way is whether people want it or not, isn't it? People want to drive their own cars. What's the point of having a car if you're not driving it?
Hang on a minute. What's the point in getting up and walking over to the television to change channels when you can sit there with a remote? What about shopping? All right, shopping. I mean, that's a classic example. A lot of people still like going shopping. A lot of people don't. They want to get on their PC and their laptop or their mobile phone and get a Cardo to deliver it, or Tesco's, or...
Yeah, I'm not saying there won't be driverless cars, but I don't think it's going to be as widespread as people think.
The world of cars is changing so dramatically over the next couple of years. We are going to see the biggest change since people had to walk in front of the vehicles with flags, and that's the advent of electric cars.
Yep.
The new Tesla, 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. I mean, dragsters don't appear. That's dragster level.
Yeah, Tony Byrne, who's coming in next week on the other show we do, he's got a Tesla, so we'll talk to him about it.
Yeah, well, I think you ought to. I mean, it's got a range of 600 miles. It's got a top speed of 240 miles per hour.
Never mind about your plug for Teslas, because I know you go back to them, stand outside the garage and saying, I plugged it on the radio this morning.
Well, I do. I drool a little bit.
Look at the cost of them.
But the cost is coming down. These are the prototypes. I mean, I now know 3 people that have got electric vehicles as their primary vehicle.
Yeah, you said this last week and all the rest of it, but the thing is, what we're talking about is the future. 50 years down the road, there's not one of us sitting here can predict what's going to happen.
Yes, I can.
Because 50 years ago, backwards, we couldn't predict what was going to happen. If we'd sat here in the studio 50 years ago and said, that you're going to have all these tablets and iPhones and all the rest of it, we would be probably locked up and we would be put in the asylum.
In 50 years' time,
50 years ago.
When we walk up Newport Pagnell High Street in 50 years' time, there'll be that statue of Mike Barry that was elected by the locals in honour of his presence.
We'll throw tomatoes at.
Well, it could be. Do you know? I think the youngsters would probably dress it up every year in sort of funny in a tutu.
Well, have that permanently, won't it?
Well, I think it could be in memory of Mike. So 50 years from now, the world will be a different place, Mike.
Are you talking about statues? Old Lionel Messi's had his legs chopped off his statue outside the Barca Stadium.
Did he? Oh, that's not very nice.
No. By the way, going back to injections, Lynn's contacted us on the old Twitter scope, the Facebook scope. In answer to the question, what arm do you want it in? Actually, it's quite irrelevant. She's got no lymph nodes in her left arm, so can't have any injections, etc. in the arm. It would cause lymphedema. Never mattered years ago, as they didn't know that. So thanks, Lynn, for that. That's interesting. Yeah, we didn't know that. Interesting.
It's a remote South Atlantic island that's already enjoyed £300 million of British taxpayers' cash to pay for a controversial new airport. And now St Helena, which Bob should know all about this because he knows all about airports now, St Helena is due to spend millions more UK foreign aid on a state-of-the-art jail, harking back to its greatest claim of fame as the island where Napoleon was held prisoner in his final years. The current jail dates back from 1826, etc. But if we go back to the airport, apparently they built this airport funded by the DFID and built to usher in a lucrative new era of tourism. So far, yielded disappointingly few visitors.
No, so not many people go to St Helena, do they?
The huge bill was highlighted.
Not many people know where it is.
One of the problems is they built the airport and they really hadn't done a proper assessment of that airport because they built it in such a windy spot that it makes it very difficult for commercial airlines to actually land there.
Well, St Martin's is not many miles from there, is it? That's quite an amazing airport, St Martin, because you've got 747s coming in over the beach and people hang on the fence and get blown off by jet planes.
I think it's 7 days steaming out of South Africa to get to St Helena, isn't it? Probably. Which is the main form of communication, and they were hoping that actually it would boost tourism. But why would you want to go to St Helena?
I'm not quite sure where it is. Where is it? Is it near Ascension?
South Atlantic.
So it's near Ascension Island.
South Africa is the nearest sort of point where you can get a boat. I mean, and it's south of South Africa.
What's it never took off, did it? The Falkland Islands as a holiday association, because they were talking about that one time, weren't they?
Well, the weather's not conducive to
the weather's not great, and it's too far away.
And you could pick up a penguin there, So.
When you've seen one penguin, you've seen them all.
Well, you have indeed.
Well, not quite. No, you've got a king penguin, which is much bigger than the normal penguin.
You've got the blue penguins. You've got to go to Australia there, though.
Funny enough.
And you've got those in red wrappers, too.
The company I work for, the recruitment agency, we actually recruited quite a number of the people for that project in St Helena.
Yes.
Penguins?
No, petrochemical engineers, because they had to set up right from scratch at the airport, and they had to put in, like, fuel systems and things for fueling the aircraft, and we sent I think about 4 people we sent out there.
Interesting you should say that about the airplane standing on that, because on the island of Skathos, one of the Greek islands, the runway there slopes down by about 40 odd degrees, so the planes can come in and land, but then they come down to the bottom, which is just about by the beach, to turn round before they take off again. And of course it attracts a lot of people because you see the big plane planes coming down and they're turning round at the bottom, and the old pilots, you think they're waving at you, but they're not.
So you get out of the way.
Get out of the way, because believe you me, when they turn around, when they start their engines off,
jet wash.
Oh, blimey, O'Reilly, it's a very silly experience to go through, but I haven't been through it.
That's protective fences, isn't it?
Well, they've got a big barrier up there, but the amount of stuff that flies off it is just unbelievable. Coming up a little later on this morning, we've got the Decades with Charlotte and Dave, and then at 3 o'clock this afternoon until 5 o'clock is All Sorts Weekly Showcase with DJ Digital. Then there's a new show starting today. There's 7 o'clock until 5 o'clock till 7 o'clock. Chart and Chat with Mark Lombardo, and then at 9 o'clock through to 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. I'll get my times right in a minute. It's Roots, Soul, Rhythm and Blues with Erica Gordon. That's just a bit of the lineup of what's going on CRMK this particular weekend. This is a lovely one from a council here. The City Council is under fire for telling residents to buy fake rather than real Christmas trees. Experts point out that the artificial trees can have up to 10 times the carbon footprint of real ones, and are mostly non-recyclable when families decide to get rid of them. They also said thousands of jobs were created by selling real trees. And this advice was published in Portsmouth City Council's quarterly magazine. The leader of the council admitted the writer of the article was probably thinking about mitigating the cost of council recycling and had gone too far. The Carbon Trust says that the carbon footprint of a real 2-metre Christmas tree is about 16 kilograms of carbon dioxide if it goes to landfill. This can be reduced by 80% by replanting it. So, I don't know, have you got a real Christmas tree, Bob, or a fake one?
We don't have a Christmas tree. We don't even decorate.
Oh, you humbug.
I am a humbug. We're not into it, really, because we're only there one day, really. I mean, who's there,
Well, I'm not coming around your house for Christmas time. Don't you come round to mine either, because you'll be so jealous of the Christmas tree. I have lights outside my house at the moment.
Oh, God, you're not one of them,
yes.
It's far too early, that's all I was saying.
Yeah. I'm on a mission today. I've got some lights that I actually laid them out in the garden yesterday to make sure they're all working, and they're all working, and I'm going to wrap them around the tree at the front of my house, which is a conifer tree, but actually when it's got lights on it, it looks very Christmassy.
Yeah, I'm quite sure.
It's interesting to me. I mean, very fortunately now, the majority of Christmas lights that you buy are all these little digital type things, rather than the old screw-in bulbs.
LEDs.
Yeah, because it was always the way with the bulbs. Yeah. You would lay them out like Alan said, and they would all be lit, and then of course as soon as you wrapped them around a Christmas tree or the fence post or whatever, they wouldn't work because one of them had gone out.
Yeah, that's right.
And you had 36 bulbs, and you didn't know which one had gone out. And I mean, you're an electrician, aren't you? I mean,
and can I just, on a point of issue here, bulbs grow, lamps glow.
Bulbs grow. Yes.
I'll just say that.
There's technical terms down there.
So they're called lamps, are they? Not bulbs.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. Well, my lamps glow, yes, and they're very good.
Sounds better already, Mike.
Yeah, no, that's great, because the other thing as well is when you're laying them out and you're going to hang them up on the outside of the house, no matter how careful you are, there's always this sort of crunch when you've actually stood on one of them, but the rest of them still light up, which is good.
The other day, I was at home on Wednesday and decided to have a
because you always have Wednesday
or something. That's right. Yeah. And we'd done our bits and pieces, and I whacked the old telly on, and Loose Women come on.
Mike's been on.
And I thought, wow. Yeah. And they introduced a guy, and he came on, and he was Mr. Christmas Etiquette guy.
Oh, really?
And he had all of about 5 minutes to discuss things. And his big thing was, don't put out any lights until the 16th or 17th of December, and get your tree up then. And it got to be down by the 12th day of Christmas.
What is a 12th day? You see,
but he went into various other things, and there was the way to dress, and whatever you do not open your presents in a onesie or on tracksuit bottoms or your Jimmy Jams. You've got to dress in your slacks and open neck shirt for the gentleman and so forth. And he was quite amusing.
I can imagine.
Doesn't everybody do that? I mean,
well, I didn't realise that people didn't do that either, Mike.
We always have our, after the salmon and scrambled eggs and Bucks Fizz, and then we move over into the lounge and we get our prezzies. And
then you argue?
No, we don't.
Well,
we will do
change.
We will do. We will do. Well, that is going on a serious note. I mean, I totally agree with Kevin. I mean, all right, I set the Christmas tree lights up. Well, I did early in the middle of the week, but we don't put our Christmas tree up until about the 17th or 18th, and we do take it down religiously on the 12th day. But I actually detest Christmas. I am I like the food and the drink, but
it's nice when you're young and romantic and you've got a nice partner and you weren't in the old days. No, before that.